Welcome to the webinar. We'll get started shortly. Before we begin, here's how to earn CPE credit. Unlike traditional CPE webinars, there are no polling questions or attendance checks during the presentation. Instead, you will demonstrate your knowledge by taking a brief multiple-choice quiz in the Earmark app. Search for the free Earmark app from the App Store or Google Play Store, or scan the QR code on the screen. Open the app and create an account. Be sure to use a valid email address because we'll email you your CPE certificates. From the home screen, scroll down to find the course. You can also tap the magnifying glass icon to search for the course. Tap on the course artwork, then the Enroll button. On the Course tab, you'll find the recording and quiz questions. If you don't see the quiz yet, don't worry. We'll email you when the quiz is available. Complete the quiz to earn your CPE certificate. If you have questions or need help, email us anytime at support@earmarkcpe.com. Now, on to the webinar. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Earmark. I'm Blake Oliver, and today I'm talking with Lucas Sundahl. Lucas is a highly accomplished controller and the founder of Accounting Couture, an initiative dedicated to promoting the accounting profession and inspiring current and future accountants. Lucas is a certified management accountant, a CSCA, that's Certified in Strategy and Competitive Analysis, and holds an MBA with a concentration in finance from Baker University. Welcome to the show, Lucas.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we're talking today about how to build up the future of accounting, and you've been doing that in your own way with Accounting Couture.
Yes.
What is it? What is Accounting Couture? You don't really hear those words in like right next to each other very often.
Yes, good question. But basically, it's just a fun way to showcase the accounting profession. In addition to like making content about accounting and finance, I tie in some designs and t-shirts. So basically, people can wear them to promote the accounting profession. And in the logo you see over here, over my shoulder, many of the accountants recognize the T account. So yes. I incorporated that into the logo. But yeah, it's just a fun way to create content, showcase the accounting can be fun. I feel like so many people read the Reddit threads and they're like, oh, accounting sounds horrible. Long hours, never any fun. So that's one thing I want to kind of like dispel that myth right away. And then also, I wear the shirts a lot to the gym to work out. So I figure it's a great conversation starter, especially if you have your own accounting practice. Start a conversation with people at the grocery store, gym, whatever.
So you're selling accounting merch?
Yes. Yeah.
So t-shirts, hats. What's your most popular item?
So I would say t-shirts are the most popular. I have some hats, some sweatshirts. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of merchandise on there, and even some coffee mugs.
What's the most popular like t-shirt slogan
So I feel like
meme?
one of the most popular ones has been the accountant. I don't do taxes because so many people just assume accounting, you're busy with tax work. That's probably one of my most popular ones. And then I have even some baby onesies. So LIFO the party, FIFO your right to party. Those have been pretty popular as well.
Yeah, baby onesies. That's a big hit.
Yes.
Well, we're here today to talk about how we can increase the number of accounting grads, how we can make accounting less of a drag and more fun, which you're doing with Accounting Couture. And we want to get them to become CPAs or CMAs. You're a CMA, I'm a CPA, but more and more accountants are choosing not to pursue licensure or credentials. But we do know that it increases your earning potential throughout your life. So it is still a great investment. So yeah, let's start with that, right? How do we get more young people to pursue accounting, starting as early as we can in high school? How can we engage high school students and get them interested in accounting as a career?
So I feel like that one good place to start is career fairs, showcasing, so having people from like a CPA firm or other accounting professionals come in and talk about what they do on a daily basis and kind of give an overview of what their life is like inside the office, that type of thing, kind of what their path was to get where they are professionally. Also, I feel like, especially with April being Financial Literacy Month, more schools should do even just a small course on financial literacy. And in that, you could talk about accounting and how that plays a role. So you could talk about tax work. That's obviously a big thing for people, especially like in high school, you're getting ready to earn money. Maybe you have a summer job. So with your parents, you're gonna have to file taxes. So that's just another way to kind of like, hey, okay, this is what accounting is like, what they do. And so that's a good way to kind of get their exposure to that realm.
Although, I mean, you got to be careful with who you send to these career fairs, right? Because you want people at your firm who are going to, promote accounting as a great career. And unfortunately, when accountants rate accounting, it gets like a 6, maybe a 7 on a scale of 1 to 10. That's according to Big Four Transparency. They did some crowdsourced data on this.
Yeah.
So like the question is, I mean, we can go to career fairs, but how do we make it appealing? Right? How do we get these students interested?
Yeah, it's a good point. I would say if you do send somebody from like your firm or your company, you want somebody that's engaged and has buy-in to your company, almost in essence, like if they are kind of do some of your marketing. So you want to send somebody there that represents your company, that you would be happy talking about not only your company, but just know that they're engaged in accounting. They have a long-term objective to stay in that field. You don't want to send somebody that's did they got a poor performance review and then send them out there to be like, yeah, accounting, it's not really for me. I'm super bored. I think I'm going to change careers here pretty soon. So you definitely want to try and send somebody out there that's engaged and not only like promoting your company or your whatever firm they're from, but also somebody that's like still actively trying to pursue credentials, growing in their career, that type of thing.
How did you get interested in accounting, Lucas?
Yes. So for me, it was interesting. So I originally went to school at Kansas State University, got a kinesiology degree, and from there I became a personal trainer and worked at a couple different gyms. And then I worked for a company that was called Front Door Fitness, and I went to people's houses, or they would either have like country club with a gym, home gym, or a corporate gym. And through that, I met people like in different careers, obviously a lot of doctors, some lawyers, people that just own their own business. And from there, I'm like, okay, like started talking with them about different things. And I realized that it'd be kind of cool to do something like that because with training, it's awesome, but your hours are early mornings, late evenings, some lunchtime to fit with your clients' needs. So I got a job at an investment firm in Kansas City. And then from there, just kind of got some exposure into finance, accounting, investing. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So that's kind of what like kind of guided my change in my career trajectory. So I pursued like the MBA in the accounting route.
So you were doing personal training, and then how did you get inspired though to like specifically get into accounting?
Yeah, so a friend of mine, I got a job at American Century Investments in Kansas City, which is a mutual fund company. And I did that part time, obviously still training, and then it morphed into like a full time job where I still did some training. And then from there, I was like, okay, that's what led me to go. And also, my career is interesting. So I went and got my MBA in finance first. Then, as I was looking for jobs, I was like, hey, yeah, you can apply for this job. Do you have a bachelor's degree in finance or accounting? And I'm like, not yet. So that's when I actually went back to school after getting my MBA. I went back and got an accounting degree.
And then okay, got it. And you've been working as an accounting manager, a controller for a while, and you must really enjoy it.
Yeah, I do. So I've been in accounting, like basically in essence, full time since 2013, part time a little bit before that. But yeah, ever since then, I've been working in either a role that's related to finance or accounting for that time.
So are you working 50, 60 hours a week? I can't imagine you are if you have time to do accounting couture.
Honestly, so one thing I did pretty well was going back through for school, especially with like having a baby at home, as I got really good with time management. So I've gotten really good with creating content ideas in a spreadsheet, track that separately, and then I can knock out a video in like 5 minutes from just because I do it all on my phone. So I know what I want to do. I open up the apps I use, film the video, do some quick editing, and post it. So I've gotten pretty efficient on getting that up. So the accounting couture content does not take a ton of time.
So we got some live stream viewers who have joined us today. Thanks, everyone. It's the day after tax day as we record this. We've got Jonathan here. Jonathan says, boom, made it to a live. Great to have you with us, Jonathan. Boring accountant, as always. 2 coffee cups today. I'm on my second as well. Welcome. Megan has a question. Megan asks, what are your thoughts on the new AP Business Principles course? Do you think it's in high school curriculum enough already, and will that help? Are you familiar with this, Lucas? Have you heard about this course?
I've heard of like high level. I don't know a full detail on it.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved as a high school student to be able to earn AP credit for something to do with business. I took a ton of APs to the point where I had almost enough credits to be a sophomore in college when I went. And so I would have eaten that up for sure. But, we just had the traditional ones, right? AP history,
Yeah,
AP
AP
calc.
English,
Yeah.
AP History. Yeah, those are the ones I took. Like you said, I was pretty close to being a sophomore by the time I finished as well. But yeah, I wasn't fortunate enough for a business course like that. Maybe if I had done that from the get-go, I would have gone business right away and not
I know, right? Well,
switch back to it.
it's just kind of shocking to me, like looking back now, right, at high school and thinking how like little practical education I received. I'm not saying that math and English and history aren't important, but if everybody's getting this general college prep kind of experience and not really practical experience, then like how are we ever going to get people interested in stuff like accounting and finance, which is very practical? And I wish I'd had an accounting class in high school. I wish there had been an entrepreneurship class or a business class or something to get me interested in it, because maybe that's where I would have gone. Actually, I know that's where I would have gone because that's what ended up really getting me. But it wasn't until I graduated from college and went to the real world that I even encountered any of that stuff. I don't know, maybe having more business classes in high school is the key to getting people to be more interested in accounting. What do you think, Lucas?
No, I think it's a good point. So with one of my MBA courses, there's a simulation called Mike's Bikes, and maybe people in the audience are familiar with that. But basically, you and your teammates run a bike company. So you plan out, and there's some parameters within the software itself, but you try and plan out the number of production, what type of bikes you want to sell, what your marketing strategies are. And from that, so some people in the course were obviously finance or accounting, but other people were more focused on HR or other things. So basically, you have what you would experience in the real world is finance and accounting professionals, other people, HR, support, administrative, and you run a company. So you're planning out what do we need to do for like sales, marketing, that type of thing. So I feel like having a simulation, whether it's that software, there's many different ones now, especially with MBA programs having different ones, but having a program or a course where people could run through, where they run their own business, maybe even have like a competition, see like
Yeah.
at the end of the semester, which company had the highest revenues. If they're like a similar, like let's say they have to sell so like X widgets, see which company is the most successful.
Do you remember that lemonade stand game that we used to play in school?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
like
even something like that, just to extrapolate on that would be a good one as well.
Yeah, there were a variety of them, right? But the idea
Yeah.
was you had to run a lemonade stand and you had to plan production and you had to manage your costs and your pricing. And if you adjusted your prices, demand would go down. So you had to find this like sweet spot of price and cost and generate the most profit. And I loved gaming that, but that was when I was in maybe fourth grade and there was nothing after that. So I don't know, maybe video games are the way to inspire accountants, young accountants. Maybe we should get the AICPA working on, a video game for business that
No,
involves accounting
yeah,
and finance.
that would be cool. Yeah, so have it's like on the PS5 or the Xbox, get some accounting simulators, business simulation
No,
games.
no, no, no. We need to get these kids young, right? Get them on the
Oh yeah,
iPads. Get
that's
get
true.
get those 3-year-olds, planning production for a factory, right?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, do we continue operations in the Philippines or do we shut it down?
Yeah, it turns out that you just lay everybody off, you offshore all the labor, right?
Yeah.
And well, we know what happened with that when we did that in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
But I digress. Well, let's talk about like we kind of touched on it, the job satisfaction, right? The issue with sending people to career fairs if they are working 50 to 60 hours a week, that is it's a challenge then to promote the profession, right? When people are overworked. So there's also, in addition to promoting the profession, this issue of like, how do we actually just make it more pleasant to work in? And it just boggles my mind that so many people are unhappy in accounting because I came in like you as a career changer, Lucas. I was a musician before I became an accountant. And I pursued accounting because it could give me more money and more flexibility than I was having as a musician. I could work when I wanted, I could make good money, I could work as little or as much as I wanted to. And then I got into accounting and I discovered what it's like at firms where people are forced to work or feel like they're forced to work really, really long hours in a busy season that just never seems to end. And I think to myself, maybe this is just because I am an outsider, that this is stupid. It makes no sense. We do this to ourselves.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you have these long hours and these starting salaries that haven't gone up much at all in 20 some years. So it's like trying to sell something that's like a TV from like 2003 now. Like everybody's like wanting flat screen TVs. How do you, like, you're still marketing things from 20 years ago. So yeah, I think obviously the starting salaries have not increased like they should. And the hours, I worked briefly at a CPA firm, and I was fortunate enough that they capped hours. And to go beyond 55, you had to have a sign off from like upper management. So there's got to be
But
more.
still, 55. I mean,
Well,
that's,
yeah, no, that was like
you
peak.
know,
That was like the peak of right before tax season. They only ramped that up at the very very end before the deadlines were.
right.
So they tried to keep everybody like 45 or below as long as possible. So there's things like that. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta find a way to be more productive, so that maybe even like incorporate more technology to make things roll through faster. I feel like so many firms are still stuck in the billable hours thing, and so maybe that's why there's you got to get 55, 60 hours because we're billing by the hour, whereas there should be more value-based work.
Yeah. I mean, even if firms, let me step back for a second. I am a big proponent of fixed fee billing and dropping timesheets and not doing hourly. And it works great for me in my businesses, right? We don't track hours. We stopped doing that in my firm and then in my other businesses. And I just think there's a lot of accounting firms doing that and it's working. And then people don't have to like feel like they need to put in the hours. When I was a manager, I remember getting the emails every week, and the high billers were praised, right? The
Yeah.
folks who billed the most hours got recognized firm wide. And I remember thinking how messed up that was, creating that culture of overwork. I mean, that's one thing to stop doing right away. But even if firms stay on an hourly billing model, getting down from 48 hours on average to like 40 hours on average year round wouldn't really be that tricky. All you have to do is raise your prices 20%. And if you lose 20% of the work, right? Let's say that cuts your hours by 20% because now there's less demand. The firm's still making the same amount of money for fewer hours, right? Like, why can't firms just do that? Cap the hours and raise their prices.
Cap the hours, raise the rates, and honestly, you'll probably get rid of some of the clients you didn't want to work with anyway. It's like the 80-20 principle that's very popular. You'd probably get rid of a lot of the clients that were the most work involved in terms of like questions and follow up, but paid the least for their service. So yeah, I feel like that would be a great way to go about that.
I think that's the real crux of the problem, is that the way firms are managed and the way that the managing partners like look at the firm is it's all top line revenue. Every dollar that comes in the door is treated equally. But we all know that $1 might take very little work and another dollar might take way more work than it's worth to generate.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're in this situation, is because the culture in accounting is all top line revenue. You even look at the top 100 firms list, it's all top line revenue. But it doesn't make any sense because top line revenue is not what you eat at the end of the day. It's not what you take home at the end of the day. What matters is your profit. So you'd think as accountants, we would be looking at profit and not top line revenue. And we wouldn't be looking at dollars in the door as the most important thing or hours billed. We'd be looking at what's our margin on all this.
Yeah, you look at the customer profitability and use like some more of the management accounting aspect and see like which clients make sense to retain, which ones be like kind of slowly push away. Like, not obviously like you just want to help them as much as possible, but it comes to a point where like, hey, it's not really going to work for both of us to partner together. You should probably find another firm to work with.
We all know who those clients are.
On
our teams, in our departments, in our firms,
Yes.
right? Like everybody knows who the clients are they don't want to work with. Maybe the solution is just allow everyone in the firm gets to fire one client every quarter,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh,
No
that'd be
questions
awesome.
asked,
Yeah.
right? Just like Survivor style, vote them off the island. You'd make the staff really happy, right?
Oh yeah, you could have the full on ceremony with the tiki torches and everything.
I
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
love it. Some more comments from our live stream viewers. Alan says class got out early, so I'm able to be here live. Awesome, Alan. I'd love to know what you are planning to do. I assume you're majoring in accounting if you're here. If not, let us know. And what are you planning to do after you graduate? Gregory says, how do we combat the interest of other industries like computer science, IT, engineering, when there may be better pay and no requirement for higher education? Unlike the CPA, which requires 150 credits, and those industries have higher ROI, is it just a matter of interest? How can we entice others to pursue an accounting degree relative to other degrees? And that's a great question, because that's what smart students are doing, is they're looking at all their options and they're computing the ROI.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm hoping that what would help schools and universities is trying to leverage more of the technology aspect, maybe get dual majors where you get like accounting, which I know it's more school, but if you get like accounting or an IT, management information systems, just something that meshes accounting with another discipline to where you could still make good money, or maybe you even go on to write accounting software, because sometimes people that write software code that don't have any experience with accounting, well, if you had the accounting
Sometimes
background, well, yeah, many times I should say, yeah,
I think
but they
that's
don't
probably
really
the
know
biggest
like what
problem.
accountants need. So then, like,
Yeah,
if you had both disciplines in your background, you could be like, well, that's a great feature, but most accountants wouldn't even use that. So then you could, I don't know, I feel like that'd be a good path.
I love that. I love that idea. I mean, the only problem is then you're telling people you got to do even more education,
Well,
right?
yeah, I know. That's, and
So,
then yeah, tie in the 150 hours too. It just makes it that more difficult.
well, this is the thing though. You see, they could pursue the CMA, right? Because CMA only requires a bachelor's degree, and then you got to sit for the exams. And then what's the work experience requirement?
So you have to be 2 years of work experience, like in a management role. So that could be any level, like, but where you're a management level person.
Specifically in accounting, or can it be any
So
type
as
of
far,
management?
I'd have to go back and look, but I feel like any kind of management would still qualify for the work experience.
So basically overseeing the work of
Yeah,
others.
overseeing the work, yes.
Okay. So that's very achievable, right? I wish the
Yes.
CPA were streamlined in that way, right? I had to get so many specific credits for courses where I already had the knowledge. And even though I had lots of credits, it's more than just the 150 hours. It's the problem. It's that I had to obtain all these credits if classes I'd never taken in my undergrad, even though I demonstrated my knowledge on the CPA exam of those topics. And the CMA doesn't require any of that. Much more streamlined. And the CMA is growing, right, Lucas?
Yeah, there's more professionals that are becoming CMAs every year. And so once I worked in accounting for a few years, I was looking at either the CPA and the CMA. And basically, just because of all the restrictions and the licensing and everything, and being at different state by state, and I was already at a manufacturing company, I ultimately went the CMA route because for me, it was more like what I was like doing on a daily basis. I was like truly management accounting, like job costing, all that thing, manufacturing, overhead absorption, all that stuff. So that's why I ultimately chose the CMA. And one thing I like about it is you can go anywhere in the world. You don't have to, if you move states, you don't have to go meet with that local accountancy board, do like things where you have to transfer your credentials over and whatnot. And it allows you to, obviously, like if you do anything like we travel overseas, you get an assignment in Europe for a couple of years, having that knowledge and working with other people's, because there's IMA chapters. IMA is what creates the CMA exam. So there's chapters that are very active in China and Europe. So you could automatically have a good connection with those people right from the get-go.
That's fantastic. Great networking, great opportunities to travel. I love that.
Yeah.
We got lots of chatter going on in the live stream here. Jonathan says, working on starting my own tax and accounting practice. Very motivating. Feel stupid for not starting sooner. Disliked working in public accounting under old firms, long hours and low pay. Now it's long hours and high pay. Well, that's better. Although, Jonathan, if you set up your firm right so that your services are scalable. You can delegate to others with good quality control. I assure you that you will work long hours for the first few years, definitely, but it's possible to build a practice where you just check in for a few hours a day and check out. I got to that point. I wouldn't say I was bringing in the massive paycheck of a big firm partner, but it was almost like passive income, right? It was fantastic. And I know plenty of small firm owners who are getting to that point. You just got to be really focused with what you offer and figure out how to productize that service. Run it more like a business, right? Less like an accounting firm.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And honestly, that made me think of the book I just finished reading. It's called Buy Back Your Time. So for people that maybe launch their own individual practice, you get to a point, instead of people hiring to grow their business, you hire somebody to help you buy back your time. So initially that could be an administrative assistant that frees up your time from like setting appointments and scheduling stuff. And then once that time is free, you're able to do more of the what gets you paid, like the tax filings or whatever. And then from there, you work a little bit longer. You can hire somebody else to do that. And then you are freed up to do more like what type of customers do I want to acquire, and then work on more marketing, and then let the other people handle the tax stuff. If you still enjoy the tax piece, yeah, you can still do that, but you can buy back and free up your time to do things that will help you grow your firm and provide more value.
I love that. I love that way of thinking about it. I'm buying back my time when I hire somebody. I'm going to use that going forward. Samantha has a question here. Samantha says, what do you think firms and recruiters can do better at job fairs and other outreach events to sell accounting careers to young people? I think we addressed that a little bit, but I'd love to dig into that more. Personally, whenever I talk to young people, I try to emphasize the flexibility of accounting outside of the traditional big firm career path, because that is what dominates Reddit and social media and all the negativity. But if you get out and you're on your own and you can run your own business or be a freelancer, we don't often hear from the solo practitioners who are really happy and who are not working long hours. And these days with remote work, you can go to a low-cost area and you can make really good money and work very few hours. Erica Goody on LinkedIn, she has a practice where she works 15 hours a week and makes a great living doing it I think she's in Idaho. So she's outdoors, enjoying.
Yeah, I think I saw one
life.
of her posts recently. She was out skiing, like after putting in just a few hours that morning and going out. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with it. So obviously you could do like the tax piece. So like you do like tax filings for like April, then people that extend, and do tax planning as an individual, a solopreneur, if you will. Or you could go on to what's become more and more popular, like the fractional CFO space, fractional controller, start offering those kind of services, because some companies are large enough revenue-wise where they may already have like bookkeepers in place, but they don't have the revenue and the overhead to support a full-time controller or CFO.
Yes.
So that's another route you could go. You can work, and then it's great because that gives you an opportunity to work for multiple companies, which is something I enjoyed as a personal trainer. I had multiple clients, so throughout the day I'm meeting with various people. So with the fractional space, whether it's controller, CFO, even just like fractional work with like taxes and whatnot, you get to work with multiple people, help them with not only the accounting piece, finance piece, but you can work with planning, forecasting. So there's a lot of different things you can do, and that keeps it entertaining or interesting because you're meeting with multiple people throughout the week and throughout the month.
Yeah. So to go back to Samantha's question, I feel like highlighting flexible schedules is a great thing. Like to create that in your firm if it doesn't exist, right? Let people work 30 hours a week if that's what they want to do, and try not to punish them for that financially. If they can get the same amount of work done in 30 hours, right? Link the pay to outputs and not their inputs, not the hours that they're working.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please, Lucas, go.
But I was just going to say that is it Parkinson's law or whatever it is, where like the work expands to fit the hours allotted. So if you allot 40 hours, then people will expand the work to fill that time, and it may not even truly be that much work to do. But if you allow them to like get your work done, still provide all the value to the stakeholders and customers, then yeah, leave a couple hours early on a Thursday to go to whatever activity, or as long as you're getting the work done and the firm is providing the services and value to the people that it works with, then yeah, the flexible would be a huge benefit.
And for those who think this is just pie in the sky, nobody actually does this kind of thinking, that's not true. I have interviewed multiple people from Summit CPA on this program, on the Earmark podcast. And I've interviewed the founder, Jody Grundon. I've interviewed several of his employees. Their virtual CFO practice allows their VCFOs to set their own hours. They can choose how many clients they want to take on, and they are compensated based on their book of business. So if you are, let's say, a mom or a dad, you got young kids and you want to work 30 hours a week, you can do that and have a career there. And it's not like you're on some different track where you can't advance. You know, you're on the same track with everybody else. And that firm has grown past $10 million a year in revenue, I think 14 million, and they got acquired by Anders, which is a top firm in St. Louis. So it's doable. There are small firms that are doing it, and hopefully a firm like Summit will take that idea and it will spread throughout the big firm that they are now part of. Megan says the University of Denver has a blended accounting and analytics degree now. Oh, that sounds great. And I've interviewed their director of that program, Dr. Sharon Lasser, on this show as well. That's a great interview. She is super forward thinking, thinks that we need to get rid of the 150-hour rule. I love academics who oppose the 150-hour rule because they're not afraid to get rid of it because they know their master's programs will still bring people in even without the requirement. It's those ones
that's a good point. Yeah.
It's the programs that aren't very good that we'll have to worry if we get rid of the master's or the fifth year requirement. The degree is called the Master of Science in Accounting, Technology, and Analytics. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that would make me want to get a fifth year, as opposed to feeling like I was forced to do it for inexplicable reasons. Gregory says, if you have Big Four offers, is it worth it in terms of potential opportunities later on, and will it hurt you by not going Big Four or mid-tier for that matter? Lucas, I have my very strong opinions on this matter, but I would love to hear yours.
So I've obviously I don't have exposure to the Big Four. I worked at a regional CPA firm, and even since I've left, it's grown. But I feel like it's 50-50. So there's some people, some hiring managers that would be like, oh yeah, they have Big Four on their resume and let's hire them. Other ones, like, I don't know. I feel like it could go either way depending on which company and whatnot. So I feel like some hiring managers, that carries a lot of clout. Others, not so much. I don't feel like it would hurt you, but what is your take on it?
I mean, my feeling is that if you're smart and you are hardworking, you can overcome that.
Yeah.
That if you're a mediocre accountant, yeah, it's really going to be helpful to have Deloitte on your resume. But if you're a great accountant, it doesn't matter because you can get into jobs where they need smart people. And there's such a huge demand for accountants that I think that traditional resume approach is going to become less and less important. If you think about it, right, because there's fewer and fewer professionals, young professionals every year, hiring managers are going to have to start getting rid of these filters that they've had for so long, which includes college degrees. We've seen a lot of job postings drop the requirement for a college degree because these companies realize that it doesn't matter, that you can get great people who don't have college degrees and you can teach them the skills. And Google is actually one of those companies. They created their own certificate program to train people who don't have college degrees and hire them because there's a shortage of people with college degrees. And they found that these people perform the same or better. So it's almost this like elitist kind of system that we've been in where, you know, a bachelor's degree sets you apart from everybody else and opens the door to jobs that you couldn't get otherwise. But I think that only existed because we had an oversupply. So that's my feeling, is that it's going to become less important. I'm not saying it isn't important. It won't help you, but I just think like you can overcome that. That's my feeling.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Boring Accountant says, accounting is being able to work in any industry. Psychologists are stuck doing psychology 10 years later. Engineers are stuck doing engineering. Accountants can more easily move across industries. I think that's a great point. Yeah. You can really work anywhere.
Yeah. Also, one thing like that's one thing also with accounting couture and other content is I try and showcase that even if you leave like a traditional like accounting role, like where you're a controller, accounting manager, having that knowledge of like the fundamentals of accounting will help you no matter what. If you move over to like lead the IT operation, or if you go on your own, open your own business, let's say you want to open like a couple laundromats, like having that general accounting knowledge will help you just make you that much more effective. So yeah, you can easily switch disciplines to like another like individual company or start your own firm.
Melissa on LinkedIn says, great point, Lucas. Having my CPA easily be accepted by all states would be a perk. Yeah.
Well, that's what's so interesting to me is some of that didn't go to the CPA route is the exam is uniform. Now that I know there's changes that there's like with the fourth exam, you can pick from 3 different disciplines or 3 different tracks. But if the test is uniform, then why wouldn't there be more reciprocity between states? And that's maybe for another discussion another time.
Oh,
but
it's
I
a
feel
great
like that'd be
question.
like states should have more reciprocity with their CPAs.
If you think about it, right, you can get a driver's license in any state, and you can drive your car
Yeah.
into any other state, and they all accept it. And when you drive, you are, behind the wheel of a
Yeah.
deadly weapon.
Yes, that's a good
And
point.
yeah, and yet we accept that, right? But for some reason, if I'm a CPA licensed in Texas and I want to go to California, I got to go through this whole rigmarole because California doesn't have reciprocity, right? And then we've got the whole mobility problem. We could solve reciprocity if we just had full mobility, right? Any CPA licensed in any state can work in any other state, and then just deal with the problems as they come up, right? Rather than making everybody go through this administrative burden of trying to get relicensed with all these tiny little differences and requirements.
Yeah.
Mobility is held up as this like thing that we work so hard to get, but I don't really feel like it's that great, But it really doesn't matter for most CPAs because most of us end up working in industry, and then you don't actually need to hold yourself out as a CPA. So it really doesn't matter. I can be licensed, right? I can be licensed in Arizona and I can go live anywhere and work anywhere. I can still have CPA after my name on LinkedIn or on my bio.
It's funny you say that because when I was going through and looking at the CPA and CMA, I actually looked at, and I think it's probably changed since then, but I was actually looking at Washington State because the requirements were like their hours were a little bit less on some of the disciplines. And so I was like, because mainly I was looking at my CPA just for the letters because I wasn't going to sign off on any tax returns at the time. And so I even debated about going for the CPA just to get the letters behind my name and go through Washington State.
Yeah. I think Washington might be the state that most of the foreign applicants go through if they can't do it in their own country. Yeah, you just find the easiest state and you get licensed there. And then one of the backdoor tricks is get licensed in an easier state. Like, did you know that like Illinois, their like work experience requirement is super easy. So when I was in practice and I have my own accounting firm, my business partner was getting her CPA and she was in Illinois. And Illinois' rules about work experience were so loose that I could sign off on her work experience requirement, even though I myself was not yet a CPA.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So then you get your CPA in a state like that, and then you go, transfer it to some other state. There's all these back doors that totally, make this whole process silly, that we have these like, super strict requirements. But nobody in these state societies seems to like recognize that or be aware of that. Like you can already game the system if you want to. Paul says, went through Wisconsin to get my license and then transferred to Texas due to the work requirement issues. So there you go. There's another individual who gamed the system. Which, is great preparation for being a CPA, especially if you want to go work in tax, right? Find the loopholes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, find all the ways, to be more efficient.
All right, let's move on past like education and into like the actual job of being an accountant. And Gregory here has a comment on LinkedIn that will lead us right to it. Gregory says, what is the future of accounting with many leaving/nearing retirement age and less people going into accounting? Can one expect quicker promotions, higher salaries, and firms actually having to listen to the concerns of their employees, such as long hours?
That's a good question. And I think it kind of ties back to what we talked about earlier and even Samantha's question, like with these hiring managers and like going to career fairs. I feel like with less people available, it's just like the demand is going to shift, and basically you're gonna have to like do more to recruit. You're gonna have to offer better hours, better salary, be able to promote faster, that type of thing. So with less people available, it's gonna open the door for getting access and a chance to grow your career faster, and companies will have to compete to retain talent, not only like with maybe like better flexible working hours, but paying more for certifications for them, or even if they have like a hobby, let's say, like, yes, I love accounting, but I also love to garden. Maybe they offer like some sort of other incentive, like X amount per month, like here, go do whatever you like to do with for your hobby, or a wellness promotion, that type of thing.
My counter argument to this, I'm going to play devil's advocate, is that more and more firms are starting to offshore. So
Oh yeah.
this is what's keeping salaries down, right? You would think that in a really competitive job market that salaries would go up, but they haven't really that much. If you look at how much salaries have risen and you look at inflation, we're just keeping pace. So really it's plateaued, right, for decades. And I think the reason is that more and more firms are offshoring the work, and they're getting the arbitrage of hiring people for a third or less the cost in India, or half the cost in the Philippines, or 2/3 of the cost in South America. And so that is sort of like a release valve on the talent crunch, right? So I don't know. I'm a little concerned that more and more firms are going to do this. I mean, why wouldn't they, right? If you're just concerned with the financial results, then you can hire people in other countries and you can overwork them,
Yeah.
especially in India, right, where there is an oversupply of professionals. So they've got the same like situation that we had in the 90s or the 2000s, where there's this oversupply of accountants and they all have to work really hard to get ahead. So you can maintain that culture because of the oversupply. The system can perpetuate itself. The pyramid model can continue there. I don't know. Is that something I should be concerned about? Or
Yeah,
do you
that's a good
think?
point. No, I think yes, so that will definitely come into play. There's going to definitely, because there's already been, like you said, already some offshoring. I think that'll still be an issue. Yeah, it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a good blend of less maybe US based people like going into accounting, and firms will have to compete more, but like there's going to be offshoring as well. So I don't know. I feel like it's going to be kind of a stuck in the middle ground.
Samantha brings up that this had an effect in IT in the U.S., and it had a similar effect on salaries for U.S. talent there. I was actually talking with somebody in my neighborhood who's an IT pro, works on databases for big companies, and he was saying, yeah, the whole visa program, right, where companies would import tech workers, definitely like reduced the number of opportunities for him and lowered his earning potential. So we're not importing accountants, but we're offshoring the work. Kind of does the same thing. So, that's like when associations in the AICPA talk about like offshoring as a solution to the talent crisis, it gives me a bad taste in my mouth, because I feel like it's just a way to perpetuate all the inequalities and things that are wrong with the profession. The whole work-life balance issue just keeps going. It just goes to some other country.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you're just literally moving it from the US to another foreign country for it.
But I think the key is just don't go work for those firms, right? That's the trick. But the problem is those firms are the ones that are showing up to recruiting fairs because they're the big ones. They have the resources to hire the HR people to do that. So somehow we have to make accountants in school aware of all of the other opportunities they're not hearing about from their professors, and that they're not hearing about at career fairs. Because those small firms, these small virtual firms that are all over the place now, that offer flexible work-life balance and flexible schedules, right? They're virtual, right? They're not showing up in person at these places. Maybe we can use social media for that. Maybe Accounting Couture can feature those jobs or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe through like different podcasts and stuff, people are interested in accounting. They can kind of hear about these firms that are offering different incentives and like maybe not have like the marketing budget or the like have the resources to go on campus in multiple places. So yeah, I feel like maybe with social media, podcasts, different things, people can, and even some of these like the AICPA, IMA, they can do more to maybe like one day highlight a local, like a regional firm in Minnesota, and the next day, like there's one in Texas, and just kind of showcase, yeah, there's the big four, but here's other options for you as well, because it benefits them, more people paying dues into those organizations. So why not try and promote people like, hey, yeah, you could do big four, but here's some other options for you as well.
Yeah, I think we these organizations should be trying to keep the jobs here, right? Because we want licensed CPAs in the United States paying dues.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like this would be very bad for the state societies in particular.
Yes.
Gregory says, great point. All we have here is big four throughout college, and the only firms at recruiting events are top 25 firms. So, Lucas, we're talking about work-life balance, and we talk a lot about salaries being too low, the hours being too long. Do you think if you had to pick, which one is the one to fix? Like, which is the biggest problem? Is it the low salaries or is it the long hours?
I think, honestly, for me, I mean, they're both important. I feel like it's the long hours that is the most critical because, I mean, let's say like you're fresh out of college, and depending on where you live, $50,000, $60,000. If you live in like a certain area, that may be a lot of money, especially as like a 22, 23-year-old person. But by the time you factor in, if you work 60 hours a week, then what do you really make per hour? So I feel like if we fix the hour thing, and that can help. Also, if you free up some people's hours, then they may still like have a chance to work not only for your firm, but maybe they could do like an extra activity, or do something like a side hustle that does not impact your business. Like obviously they would use their own resources, maybe not even being related to accounting, but it would free up more time for them to do something else that they could benefit them and their families. So I feel like they're both important, but I feel like fixing the hours and making people more efficient with the time they're at work will help a lot, rather than just like, well, you got to be here for 40 hours to get your paycheck. Well, you get all your work done at 33 hours. I mean, does it really pay to keep that extra 7 hours to check email, surf the internet?
Yeah, or mandatory Saturdays. That's my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
Like I could never work for a firm that makes me come in on Saturday just to like keep everybody else company. Yeah. I get the idea. You want to have like all hands on deck kind of atmosphere, but come on. At a certain point, that's just mean to the high performers. Yeah. Discourages them, right?
Oh, exactly.
Well, you mentioned making people more productive, so let's tackle technology in the time we have left, right? How do you use technology in your job, Lucas, to make yourself more productive and to reduce your hours?
So yeah, I use a few different tools. One tool I use is LiveFlow, which connects into QuickBooks Online, just helping with like reporting, preparing forecasts and budgets, because it allows you to connect in, refresh data, run some analysis, and then you can refresh the data without having to pull a report, export to Excel, and do it manually. You can have columns in Google Sheets, and they're about to have an integration fully with Excel.
They just released it.
I knew it was on the. So anyway, then they
shout
have
out
Google
to
Sheets.
LiveFlow. They've been a sponsor of a variety of podcasts on the Earmark network. So
yeah, and their software is awesome. Yeah. So yeah, obviously they've been with Google Sheets for a while now with Excel. But yeah, you can help with forecasting, budgeting. You could do all your hard coding of like what you're forecasting, and then refresh budgets in real time without, like I said, going to the reports and the QuickBooks, dumping it to Excel, that type of thing. So that's one thing. One other one is FinOptimal's like accruer tool. So basically, instead of like having to keep manual spreadsheets of like, okay, this is a prepaid expense, I'm going to allocate it over 12 months, whatever we paid. In that thing, you can just put in there like the period that the prepaid expense is for, and then the system just does it automatically. So there's things like that can help free up time. There's Flowcast. There's all different kind of tools that help with like the reconciliation process. One I've talked to recently, I met the CEO as Bean AI. So basically, Being AI is a software tool that you can use to, let's say you need to write standard operating procedures for your company, or you need to write, it's like basically you have to create a documentation for like a certain accounting standard. So like based on this, you uses AI and it can help you write you like a note to attach for like if you're going through an audit, that type of thing. So I feel like there's so many tools that leverage AI from like the machine learning thing that can help make you more efficient with
Yeah.
creating memos, that type of thing.
I love that. So you've got a tool to automatically connect your spreadsheets to your accounting data. Anyone who's had to like refresh reports manually
Oh yeah,
knows what a huge time savings that is when you have to do it like 6 times in one night and you're up until 2 a.m. trying to get it right. And then I've been there. And then the checklists with Flowcast, right, for managing the close, the automatic accruals, deferrals, revenue recognition, all that stuff, the work papers. It's actually really amazing how much tech there is now for controllers. And I feel like all the best stuff has come to industry folks in the form of those kind of tools. And then also the people doing outsourced accounting, virtual controller, CFO services. Like it's incredible what you can automate. And my favorite example, in addition to you, Lucas, is Greg Kite, the comedian CPA who hosts Oh My Fraud, the podcast Oh My Fraud, all about fraud. Great show. Go listen to it. He's a controller. He's the only accountant for a big office, medical office building. So he does everything, right? All the bookkeeping, all the accounting, all the controllership. He even preps some of the tax, right? And he has an outside firm that helps him a little bit. But he does everything all by himself. And he's used technology to automate most of his job so that he can go be a comedian. So he definitely doesn't work the traditional 40 hours, but the owners of the building don't care because they just need somebody to get that job done, and he gets it done. And so that's what I talk about when I talk to young people in accounting. I say, you could make a job like that for yourself. What a great job. You don't have to worry about, a boss breathing down your neck. You just have to get the job done for the owners of the business. And you get to optimize your job with technology, and it's also affordable now.
that's the thing too. Like these tools, they sound like they're expensive, but they're not. Like some of these are just like a monthly license fee to use their software, and it's incredible. And then
Yeah.
with just like multiple software as a service tools, anytime there's an update, you get it automatically. So it's not like you buy the one-time purchase and you have to use that same thing for 3 years. Like anytime there's an update, just like we talked about live flow and Excel, that type of thing, it's automatically, you get it in real time.
Yeah. So that's what I like to promote as, the future of accounting is this tech-enabled accountant, right? Who
Yeah.
doesn't have to work very much. I want to be like George Jetson.
Yes.
I want to take my self-driving flying Tesla to the factory and press a button and just watch everything happen, and then I leave, right? But I'm the one making sure that it's all flowing correctly. And somebody's got to be there when it breaks down. I don't know if it ever does in the show. I can't remember it that well, but
Yeah, I can't remember either if there's any breakdowns or whatnot, but
usually
yeah,
not. It mostly focuses on the social life of the Jetsons, right?
Jetsons, yes.
Yeah. Well, Lucas, this was a great conversation. It's been really fun chatting with you about how we're gonna build the future of accounting. Do you have anything I missed? Anything you want to add before we go?
So I would just say like, if you were an accountant, especially like the biggest thing that we can do as a community of financial professionals is to seek out ways to help other people. So you can do like mentorship programs. Obviously, find one for yourself, but like offer, especially if you're later in your career and you've had a lot of experience, whether you've been like a CPA firm, industry, just find ways to give back. So I feel like people that have been in accounting and ones that are like will seek out mentoring other people will be ones that aren't jaded by the industry. So hopefully you can inspire people to go into accounting and find how beneficial it is. Another, there's a book I've read by CC Long. She's a CPA, called Dear Accountant. This shows 20 stories of people across the accounting world, tons of different roles they've been in, So we have to do a better job. Like even just like one-on-one conversations, you go to a lunch, you meet somebody new, like, what do you do? Accounting. Oh, that's great. So just trying to find ways to give back is my biggest thing to leave people with at the end of our discussion here. Is there's all different ways, whether you provide some resources for your firm to go to, like a career fair. Maybe you and a buddy develop some talking points, like, hey, Monica and the marketing department, here's some things we could do to like maybe reach some people in this, try and get this high school, this area interested in accounting. So I feel like if you start the discussion with people that are at your existing firm or through LinkedIn, see if there's a way that you can help somebody else. Like if that somebody who like works in marketing for CPA firm or for a company and they have contact with accountants, what are some things that you could offer them to help them and inspire them? So, and also one thing that's, well, I'm doing it, but other people can do it as well, is just share your story. Like there's so many people on LinkedIn that consume content, but don't put it out there. Not saying you have to make some elaborate videos, but just share your story. People are interested to learn what other people are doing, and not only accounting, but other industries as well. So find a chance to mentor somebody and then just kind of share your story.
I love those. And check out Accounting Couture if you want to get a cool T-shirt for yourself. I'm looking at it right now. What is it? accountingcouture.com. I'll put the link here.
Yeah, and on there's a thing that'll take you to the Etsy store. So that's where I sell everything through. So mugs, hats, shirts, hoodies. So even if you're not in accounting, if you have a friend that's a CPA or whatever, you can find a gift for them as well.
I like the Life of the Party one. That's my favorite.
Yes.
Cool. Well, great chatting with you, Lucas. Thanks everyone who joined us live. If you are listening to this on the podcast feed, which you most likely are, sign up for Earmark webinars and join us live when we go live. Go to earmarkcpe.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a weekly email with all the upcoming live events we have. And you can earn CPE for listening. And stick around because I'm going to play a video that tells you exactly how you can earn CPE for attending today. Today's webinar has ended. We hope you enjoyed it. To earn CPE for watching, download the free Earmark app. Scan the QR code on the screen to visit the download page. Open the app and create your account. Use a valid email address where you will receive CPE certificates. Then register for the course. You can search for it by tapping on the magnifying glass icon on the home screen and then entering the name of this webinar. If you're attending the live stream of this webinar, keep an eye out for an email letting you know when the quiz is available in the next few days. Pass the quiz to earn your CPE credits, then tap the button to email yourself a CPE certificate. Stay tuned for more webinars from Earmark. We appreciate you joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.